Hi, I'm Keith Schaefer, editor of the Oil and Gas Investments Bulletin. In part 2 of our series on lithium, I'm here with CEO Robert Mintak and COO Andy Robinson. These two gentlemen have pioneered a new way to develop lithium, and I equate it to shale oil. What shale oil was to the petroleum industry, opening up a huge new source of oil, their process is going to do that for lithium. And Andy, why don't we start with you? You headed up the team that developed this new process in just a minute or two. Tell us how this happened and what you see as the features, benefits of this for the industry.
For sure. So when we came into the resource in Southern Arkansas, we knew it was huge. But the key was to find a fast, efficient, and cheap process that would take the lithium out of this huge brine resource that's already in production. We put together a team of 5 or 6 PhD chemical engineers, process engineers, collectively over 200 years of experience between them. We became very agnostic about the technology. We got large volumes of brine to work with, and we started unlocking, testing various technologies. And eventually we ended up with, although it's a new and a novel process, it actually looks very familiar to all chemical engineers out there. Someone from a pulp and paper mill would look at our process and go, this looks very familiar, very simple. So we've tried to use modern approaches to the technology, but we've applied it in a novel way. So we've kept the surprises low. We've tried to keep it very simple. So we've tried to remove as much technology risk as we possibly can.
Yeah, we like to say we're boldly going where others have gone before. So
Explain that to me.
Well, there's a common phrase, we're riding on the shoulders of giants. Is that the right
I think
phrase?
so. I think it's the right phrase.
So there's been decades of work done in this space already. We're just very fortunate that at the time where we're building this project, that the project itself allows us access to unlimited amounts of brine. We've got a partner, Lanxess, global chemical company, who looked at what we're doing. They're experts in the water industry, ion exchange industry, especially chemical industry. They've looked at the work we're doing. Andy's team has been putting together and the process that we've built, and they're quite confident in it. But what we've done is we're piggybacking not just on Lanxess's infrastructure in Southern Arkansas, effectively being able to leverage hundreds of millions of dollars of investment there, but piggybacking off of work that's been done in universities, chemical companies for the last several decades. Advances have been made, and it's now ready for prime time to unveil a process like this. And there's no better place to do it than Southern Arkansas. It has a massive lithium resource already in production for brine. The process Andy's team's put together bolts on to an existing brine processing facility. No new wells have to be drilled. We're taking a brine that's rich in lithium, right now is going back into the ground. We'll be able to take the lithium out of it and then put it back in the ground after that. Environmentally friendly, low cost. It
doesn't get much easier.
Doesn't get much easier. It's a perfect storm right now.
Yeah. Andy, can you tell me, how is this so different? Right now, my lithium either comes from hard rock mines or way up in the desert in South America. How is your source of lithium different?
Well, I mean, we still have a brine. Basically, the key thing that we had to do is we had to get the lithium out of the brine extremely quickly. We can't allow it to sit around for a year and a half in evaporation ponds. We can't do that in Arkansas. So we had a huge brine resource, but we need to get the lithium out quickly. And that's really where the heart of the technology is we've got this ceramic absorbent material, and it pulls the lithium out of the brine. They mix together in less than an hour, actually typically less than 30 minutes. The lithium is pulled out of the brine. We can then strip the lithium out, make a concentrated lithium chloride solution. It's the right process for the resource in this location.
And it's transformational in that, as I mentioned in a discussion earlier, the industry is really built for producing technical grade lithium still. The current producers, Albemarle and SQM out of Chile, their evaporation pond process was developed in the 1960s not to produce a battery quality material. So the approach we've taken is let's build this future-proof. Let's make a process where we can make the precursor materials to make the highest purity lithium battery quality lithium compounds at the project, not have to ship it overseas to have it polished and upgraded, and have access to all the inputs that are required to do that. The industry has to graduate from being built as a mining industry, per se, with hard rock projects where they just crush ore and produce a concentrate, then have to ship it to China into production. It has to graduate to produce the battery quality materials that are required. It's a transformational period right now. And that's the approach we've taken. Let's take it from the mid 20th century processes that are used and bring it to the 21st century. So one of the processes we're working with is, well, the extraction process is just one component of it. That produces the lithium chloride solution, but then you need to convert that into a battery quality material. And we've taken the lead on that as well. Andy's put together a team that didn't come from the mining space. This is not a mining project. It's a chemical project. We're bringing in people from the pharma world that understand fine chemicals, and they've taken a different approach. So the process, I'll let Andy go into that one, but that's just part of the narrative. It needs to move past making an industrial mineral into specialty materials for the battery industry.
So, Andy, when you put your team of PhDs together, I remember back then, that wasn't very long ago. Like, you seem to have cracked this code very quickly. How long did it take, and how many people did you have on it? And were you surprised by how quick it came together?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been successful much quicker than maybe originally imagined. The team of 5 or 6 core people who were leading this. I think we're very lucky. We had the right laboratory set up at the time to test and kind of winnow out kind of all of the false technologies quite quickly. We tested at several different campuses around North America, so we really cycled through them extremely quickly. We had lots of brine to play with because of the relationship in Southern Arkansas. So, and we were very nimble. We weren't taking a heavy-handed, long-winded approach to it. If something didn't work, we'd just move on to the next thing.
We've been doing this for a number of years. So before Standard Lithium, we've been working on this, reviewing different processes, learning the limitations on what a process has at the project level. So the lessons we learned at prior companies, we were able to translate those into the approach that we took here. And the team that Andy's assembled, they've been working in this industry, in variations on this industry for decades. So they already knew going in, great, we can do it this way in the lab and it's going to work amazing, but there's no way to scale it. So we've taken the approach that we're not interested in making something that works in the lab. It has to be scalable and demonstratable to commercial production. And I think that's what Lanxess, our partners, they've got 74 chemical plants around the world. They're not interested in funding or participating in a science experiment. This has to be commercially viable. They appreciate the approach we've taken. Some of our team members, they already know them. They've worked with them in the past, so they can respect the team, the quality of work, and that there is a demonstratable way to bring this into production.
Yeah, and I think there were some real fundamentals in Southern Arkansas which helped the process selection as well, which is the brine is very consistent and quite simple chemically. So, the thing's been in production for over 40 years for bromine production. So we know exactly what the brine looks like, and it's looked basically the same for decades. So it's a very consistent brine quality. Its chemistry is pretty simple. And then because we're in Southern Arkansas, we've got this amazing access to really relatively cheap reagents, clean water, cheap power, all that kind of stuff. So that then allows you to pick a technology which kind of picks up on those project fundamentals. So it allowed us to sift through and maybe select some technologies, which wouldn't work great in other jurisdictions, but work fantastically well for this brine in this location.
How did you know that Southern Arkansas had a big lithium part, that there was lithium in all that underground water?
Well, it's been known about for a few decades. It was found as part of, oil and gas exploration work and oil and gas production work that's gone there. Obviously, the bromine industry has been there for 40 plus years. It's just, like the shale oil, shale gas, you couldn't do it 30 years ago, right? The technology wasn't available at the time.
Dow Chemical did work in the 1970s on lithium extraction from brine using ion exchange. In the 1970s, they patented an ion exchange process for taking lithium from brine that eventually became FMC's process in South America, and they used brine that was sourced from Arkansas, Smackover brine. So 40 plus years ago, people were already looking at uncracking this. So that's where I highlighted earlier that we're riding on the shoulders of giants. But so there's been an evolution in that. And we like to say that we're not a mining company, we're a data mining company. So there's lots of data to access, to understand the resource there. When we modeled the resource in Southern Arkansas, we didn't have to spend very much money because there's been decades worth of historical work done, oil and gas companies and the brine producers. It's all kept at the Oil and Gas Commission in Arkansas. Treasure trove of data that we had access to for a fraction of what an exploration company would have to do in a drilling program.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. With me today was CEO Robert Mintak of Standard Lithium and COO Andy Robinson.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay. Until next time, cheers.